Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to Joe Daddy's Garage. It is Monday, July 7th, 2025. I hope you all had a memorable, fun, enjoyable weekend celebrating the 4th of July, Independence Day, that we do every year here in the U.S. And next year, I think, marks 250 years. So, yay. I hope you had a good time. I really do. I know we had a good time. We went to the lake over in Wadawi with our friends, hung out on our pontoon boat, had some good food, some beverages, and enjoyed the weekend together. So that's what it's all about. You know, we had our some of our kids come over and join us as well. So it was family and friends and a really good time. And I hope everybody else has had a good time as well. I also know that there has been several tragedies over this past, weekend, and I'm not discounting any of that. I understand that there's, the flooding, and there's been actually people hurt from fireworks and that sort of thing. And my heart goes out to all of them. I don't myself. I don't buy fireworks. I don't set off fireworks. I don't hand fireworks off to my, kids or grandkids. I don't even like sparklers. I don't like the potential that's there. And, you hear about people that made a really bad decision and blow their hands off, or it blows up in their face, or their whole display blows up all at the same time. And, it's difficult. We're trying to do a fun thing and celebrate, but there's people that make poor choices or mistakes. Accidents happen, and people end up either getting hurt or, in the case of the flooding and everything else, losing their lives. So I know that's not related to the 4th of July, but it was over this weekend. So just, keep those people in your thoughts and prayers. It's very difficult for all of us to celebrate things whenever there's tragedies all around us. But there are a lot of good things going on in life, I know for me personally, having my family, my friends, a nice house to live in, a garage to work in, people that appreciate what I do, I have to keep looking at those sort of things and move forward. And that's where I'm at. So if you're new to my live stream, I try to do this every Monday night at 7 o'clock, and I encourage everybody to be involved. This whole process of doing these live streams is partly to talk about what I have going on in my own shop, but it's also to help people out. So we have a great group of people over here in the chat box, and we have potentially hundreds of questions, maybe, I don't know, or subject matter that people want to talk about. And I encourage anybody out there who's joining us. I posted a link to this on Facebook. Maybe somebody will show up from there. Just encourage you to be involved. Ask a question. If I can answer it, I will. If I can't, generally, the people over in the side box can help out with that. So we focus on, as I say, classic cars, 1955 to around 1980 or so. And it's not specific to just Mustangs. It can be anything in that bracket. As you all know, I've mentioned it before. My background is growing up in a junkyard, and I've been around everything and anything made in the U.S. in that whole time period. So if I can help out, I will. If not, well, we'll see. So what I do from here is I go down the list. I see who is with us tonight, who is interacting with us. If you would leave a comment, leave a thumbs up. Let YouTube know that you're watching this and that you're showing interest in it, and it might encourage them to push it out to other people. I think the record number of people that I've had at any one time watching is about 120, I think. And I'm not even sure why that happened, but typically I run 30 to 52, 54, something like that, on a continuous run through the live stream. So this is, if you don't know, this is my shop. This is my garage. This is where I do all my stuff on the cars that I work on. So first in tonight is Rick Gain. He says, I really need some cheering up tonight. Let's have some good car talk. Let's hope we can do that. I know I don't have a lot to fall back on to talk about because I was gone all weekend, and took off early last week. So haven't gotten as much done in the shop as I normally would have. Rick Stevenson, good evening, everyone. Good evening, Rick. Glad you're here. And Rick also lets me have my first sip of coffee. Coffee provided by Rick. Thank you, Rick. Terry Keithley, hello all. Please hit the thumbs up and like button for Barry. Thank you kindly, Terry and Betty and the cats. Thank you to all of you. And Betty's right behind you. Hello, everyone. We stayed in on the 4th. Too hot and humid to go out. With me in a wheelchair. Too much work for Terry, but he would do it anyway. Have a great show and hit the like and a thumbs up. Thank you, Betty. I know last we were on here, you were not feeling so well. I hope you're doing much better this week. Betty says like button, a thumbs up for Barry, Betty, and Terry, and the fur babies. There you go. Thank you. Dawn's Manufactory. Hello, folks, from sunny, hot, not wet PDX. Well, that's different. Betsy had her carb cleaned up, and she's ready for cruising. That's a good sign. And Dawn says to Rick, cheers, and asks if that is enough. Maybe enough for just a second. Dave Tyson, good evening all. Evening, Dave. Glad you're here. Jerry is checking in. Good evening from Middle Tennessee to all. Hope you're doing well, Jerry. Troy Jussett. Hey, all from coastal Georgia. I hope everyone had a great Independence Day with family and friends. Thank you, Troy. And yes, it was a good weekend. Also, he has to replace his left rear torque box. When I tried to cut it to fit the convertible inner rockers, I found it was rusted through in several locations. Just more stuff to replace. Yeah, unfortunately, that's how it seems to go. And that's why I know from my build, most of them, I feel like it's just quicker to get the whole floor. Obviously you didn't know it was in bad shape. But I know for a lot of my experience, I feel better off just getting the whole one-piece floor and not have to worry about any of those sort of things. So I may have to do some extra welding here and there, to make sure everything's tight. But it's unfortunate that you did have a torque box issue. So I'm sure you'll cut it out and take care of it, though. Rusty's Restoration, hello all, and Barry from Southern Indiana. I hope everyone had a great 4th of July. Give a thumbs up for Barry. Yes, thank you, Rusty. Appreciate you. Roger, Hindsight67, greetings from next door. Finally back after a month in Kentucky. Yes. Glad you're back, Raj. Richard Vogel, good evening, Barry, from sweltering Long Island. That does not sound good at all. That's almost like saying moist. It's very moist in Long Island. I have to throw that in every so often just to see what people do. Steve Reed from Paducah, Kentucky. Hello, Barry, and everyone. Hope everyone's doing great. And give Barry a thumbs up. Thank you, Steve. Appreciate you. David, the bowler hat guy. Good evening, Barry. Hello, all. Hello, David. You know what? I just noticed this week. Remember last week I was talking about having the @ symbol and the name? It's not here this week. I didn't change anything. I just noticed that. It doesn't have the @ symbol like it did last week, which was a mess. So, interesting. Interesting. Fairlane Central, hi gang. Hope you all are staying cool. I've been trying to get my 68 Fairlane 500 ready for hot August nights cruise next month. That's awesome. Mark, Black GTX, evening all. I hope everyone had a great 4th. Thank you, sir, and welcome. Dawn's Manufactory, first thumbs up. Let's give Barry some love. Yes. Yes, thank you, Dawn. Bob Shoemaker, evening all from Oklahoma. Dry for a bit. Okay. That sounds like a positive note. Art Man, hello from, I guess that's Minnesota, right? Welcome, Art. Hey, Matco Man. Hello, everybody. Have you ever used lizard skin for heat and sound barrier? I have applied lizard skin in the past, but I don't know I don't know if it was necessarily we were doing it for heat or sound or both. I don't remember what the scenario was, but I can tell you that it was difficult, and I mean that in a sense that we had done the 65 Galaxy 500 convertible at the body shop. This would have been back 2011, 12, something like that, and we elected to put lizard skin on the bottom of the car. So we had replaced floor pans, everything had been sanded and stripped and sprayed, and we put lizard skin on. Now, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with lizard skin. It was likely on us and our application. We had a problem because we sprayed the lizard skin on the bottom of the car. It looked great. It did. And started checking on it, and for some reason, I don't know what exactly happened, the lizard skin started like breaking loose, and we were to just peel it off, like pull it off like a sheet of plastic. But in some places it stuck extremely well. So that's my experience with lizard skin. I have not used it since. If you go back to the Bronco videos that I did, I had sprayed Raptor liner on the engine bay and the interior floor pan, firewall and stuff on that car or that truck with the Raptor liner. And that stuff seemed to bite on really well. But that's my experience, is either lizard skin or something like Raptor liner. But that's, like I said, we only used the lizard skin one time. So as far as a heat and sound barrier, I'm probably more interested in like Dynamat or Killmat. That's what I use on Jade, and that's that sticky, thick, like foil-backed, pieces. And what I liked about that was you could press it to the floor of the car or whatever, and you could cut little pieces to fill in the gaps and make it sort of airtight, but not really airtight. So I did like that for that purpose. So, good question, Madco Man, and welcome, if I didn't say it already. Hugh is checking in. Welcome, Hugh. And yes, I see your @ signs are gone now. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't understand. Somebody may have complained with another live stream or something. I don't know. But they are not here, so that's good. I have Clem Griffiths. Get on the road. Okay. Hey, hi Barry. I wanted to ask a question about your shop as it relates to layout and where you located your lift, where it appears is towards the rear of a bay. Please talk about the shop layout. Okay. Not a problem. This shop, I've mentioned it before, is 24 feet across. Okay. So 24 by 36 is the main workspace that everybody sees all the time. So 24 wide, 36 long. And I put the lift a little bit, it's hard to give you measurements or dimensions, but I wanted enough room on the side of the lift where the post is that I could easily walk through there. And I have approximately a good 3 feet from the wall to the post, and then the footprint of the lift, and then from the other side, again, this is 24 feet. I don't know what the exact measurement is, but it's probably close to 15, maybe 14 feet, something like that, from the other side. So there's enough room that I can, if I didn't have other stuff in the way right now, I can or could walk around this wall side of the lift. And on the other side, technically, if you look at some of my older videos, I had a car back there. I had Jade back there on that side. So I don't know if I can tilt it. I got my light diffuser over here, but the post you can see there, and then that distance there. Like I said, it's probably 12. I don't know. It's hard for me to guess right now. It's past center. Let me look real quick. Let me check real quick. Let me stand here and look at it. Yeah, so it's 1.5 feet past center. So if the span is 24 feet, 24, 12, 13, I've probably got 11 feet on that side. Probably 11 feet. So just to give you some idea of that perspective. That's a good question, because I know I didn't have anything to go by when I was putting this in. And this lift is a 2-post lift with a cable on the floor. So the pulleys, the cables go down across the floor, and there's a little metal plate that covers the cables. And the reason for that, I didn't have enough room to go up. And that's why I was able to offset it slightly to one side. So some people can do the taller lift, but they will center it up more in the middle because they get more clearance, and they put the top of the post in between the rafters or in between the trusses. So you end up with more of the center of the shop taken up. Aside from that, the back of the shop, this is 24 feet, and again 36 here, and then the paint booth is behind or attached to the back, and so the paint booth is 24 and 14. So the total shop dimension is 24 by 50, but 24 by 14 of that is the paint booth area. And the walls, or the ceiling, the trusses are not quite 12 feet. They're about 11.6, somewhere in that range, off the floor. So that's a good question. I hope that answers you. If you have any other questions about that, go ahead and ask. So give me an extra bell there, Clem. Rusty, I have an issue with my 65 Mustang not wanting to start when it is warmed up. Barely turns over. Vapor lock. Do I need a space between my manifold and carburetor? Thanks. Well, that's an odd one. I don't know. I don't know if a spacer would help in that situation. Somebody else might know. Don might have a good answer to that. But I've not had that problem. And it could be, I won't say it's possible your timing is off a little bit, which could be causing a problem. I don't know what your settings are in your timing. So that would be my guess, is first is set the timing a little off, and then look at your, I don't know if that spacer would help with a vapor lock. But that's a good question. I'm sorry, Rusty, I don't have a great answer for you. Denny Alvey, hey Barry, hello all from rainy Paducah. Glad you're here, Denny. See, now it doesn't say the @ thing, so I know it's you. So I know last week it was some crazy @ something, blah, blah, blah. Richard, how did you deal with the rust pits on Slither's side mirrors? What I ended up doing, because I ran into a problem with the mirrors, and it wasn't, we say rust, but it's actually corrosion, because and I know it's the same thing, but it's not rust as in your typical steel, right? Because the side mirrors, the quarter extensions, the headlight bucket things, those are all made from a pot metal. And so it's a mixture of tin and I don't know what all. So it's a corrosion, but rust is a good term, we could use. I ended up cleaning them completely off. I did use some navel jelly to really get down in there and clean out the pits. And then I decided to reblast them. I stripped all the paint off all the surfaces, but I went ahead and reblasted them. And then I went over them again with 180 grit on the DA and just kept going over and over and over. Cleaned them up as best I could. Took lacquer thinner and wax and grease remover and just cleaned them all up. And this time, instead of using epoxy, I used self-etching primer. And so I'm hoping that the self-etch does a better job of biting into that material and creates a better foundation. So what happened was I had a problem with the mirrors on the car. Everything looked great. everything looked great. And I took it out in the sun, and the heat hit them, and it made some little blisters on the top of the mirrors. And I'm not going to let that ride. So I cleaned them all up, started over. So I'm going to get those taken care of this week. So good question, Richard. Hope that helps everybody. Mark says, I like fat matte rattle trap and fat matte floor liner. My 58 is remarkably quieter without a lot of effort or expense. Okay. I've not heard of either one of those, but I'm assuming it's not kind of like the Dynamat or the Killmat. I'm assuming the foil backed, sticky black stuff. I'm assuming. Let's see. Fairlane Central. Does anyone know a good source for various trim clips for cars of our era? So you're talking about for the Fairlane? I don't know what you ventured through. I know there are some Fairlane specific websites. There's I was trying to think of the one. Shoot. Mac something. Can't think of the name right now. Maybe other than NPD or whatever, there are specific sites out there for the Fairlanes. I can see the imagery that I want to say, but I can't say it. I think it's something Mac that has has some good forward resources. I can't get it to pop up. Dave Tyson says check timing as far as the hot not start. And Rusty says timing is 12 degrees advanced, I think. Okay. Yeah, I don't, and I'll say this. I guess I'm probably, more in the old school bracket of turning it by hand and revving it up and hearing what I want it to hear, what I want it to sound like, versus actually putting a timing light on it. That's just what I've always done, and it seems to work. But I know the advantage of having it dialed in. I do. But I know for me, it's always been just kind of play with it and get it where you want it. Randy Bayless, hot start problem could be from the starter not having a heat shield. That's a thought. Thank you for that, Randy. That is a consideration. We're thinking of it from the engine itself versus the stress load put on the starter. That's a good question. That's a good answer. Fairlane says not starting when hot is common with modern fuel on carb induction. An insulated carb spacer can help. Okay, thank you for that. Don Gilly, check your timing. It's off for hot start. Okay. Don's manufacturer. Spacer helps with hot soak flooding. Betsy also has an aluminum shield protecting the Holley accelerator pumps. Barely turning over sounds like start issue or too much initial timing. There we go. I told you Don would have a great answer. Rusty, thanks. I'll try again. Taking the time back a little bit. Okay. Mark, Fat Matt is peel and stick. Yeah, that's the same. That's probably just another variation of Dynamat or Kill Mat. Yeah, it's usually like a 12 or 15 inch chunk, like almost like floor tile that you'd peel it off and just stick it down. So yeah, that's probably the exact same thing. Jerry says, howdy, Barry. Howdy, y'all. Sorry we were missing the stream tonight. We had to get something to eat. Robert says, hi, have a good car talk. Thank you, Jerry. Matco Man, thank you for your input. Just trying to find out cost-wise. And I'd like to have something on the inside of the roof. Okay. Richard Vogel says, Max Auto Parts. Yeah, there you go. I knew it was Mac something. And I knew it was blue. I don't know. TJ, evening all. TJ TJ Hot, East Dublin, Georgia. Barry, what the last damage package you received? Have they made it right with you yet? Was UPS? It was UPS. Actually, NPD is taking care of it now. It's funny you mentioned that because this is the box that showed up while I was away for the weekend, right? Similar, but look, it's even been bent up and crunched on both ends, so you can see there. I haven't opened it yet. Let's find out. Let's find out while we're here, because I just brought this in not too long ago, and I was very surprised, or not surprised. NPD is very good about taking care of their customers. I will say that for sure. Unlike some other company named CJ Punny, NPD does a great job of handling things. So it appears that it is intact, not bent. So that's a plus. That's a plus. And I'm sure the other pieces in here. Now, what I do like about NPD, as all of us know, is they stuff Christmas wrapping paper in their boxes. So I've got a lot of, I could straighten this out and save it and use it for Christmas. Nobody would ever know, right? Look at that. There it is. There's a little window thingy that I needed. Thanks, NPD. Yeah, but seriously, you can save this stuff. Nobody would ever know. Nobody would know. Who's going to know? Nobody's going to know. So yeah, I'm good with that. Shout out to NPD for taking care of UPS's issue. Clem says, very perfect description of the shop layout. I'm adding more garage space with the lift to work on my Mustangs and Harleys, and planning the lift location. Grew up in Brunswick, I guess, Georgia, but residing in Utah now. Oh, I got some relatives out in Utah. Say hi to them for me. Yeah, I'm very happy to have these little post thingies for the back windows. But yeah, you're welcome, Clem. And I will say this, Clem, when I originally built this shop, and Roger next door helped me put all this stuff up, the limitation I had was 900 square feet, and so I had to go with 24 by 36, because if you go in 4-foot increments, based on the size of plywood and materials, 24, 36, that's about as close you're going to get to 900 square feet without going 25 and whatever. So I knew that I was restricted as to how big of a space I could have. Also, I will point out, the roll-up door I have up front here is 16 feet wide and 8 feet tall. So I like the roll-up door because it doesn't block the lights. Okay, so my shop, my limitation was 900 square feet. And when I poured the concrete, I thought, I'll have them pour me that extra 14 feet in the back. And one really cool thing about this space is when they poured this, they poured a 6-inch curb all the way around. And the beauty of that is, if you're ever building a shop and you want to rinse it out, clean it, and not get your walls wet, have them pour a 6-inch curb all the way around and then build up from there. And then you want to wash out your space, you're not spraying the base of the wall, so nothing's getting wet. The only difficulty is if you want to add on something, you've got that curb to deal with later on. So when I built this, I had the door in the back. I had the extra 14 feet on the back, but it didn't have a curb on it. It was just flat. And so I kind of snuck it through the inspection process because they were like, hey, you're limited to 900 square feet. I said, yeah, that's all I'm building. And they said, well, what's all this in the back? It's extra concrete. And I said, oh, that's just a place to like park my lawnmower and stuff. It's all. Just I just wanted a place to keep it out of the dirt, out of the And they were like, yeah, okay. So later on, that became an extra bay in a sense, and then it became the paint booth. So that's how that came about. Dawn is pointing out the peel and stick stuff. If you're talking about putting it on the roof of a vehicle, may not work on the top. Gets too hot to stay up there, and that is a good point. The roof of these cars, obviously, depending on the color and everything else, might be very, very hot in the middle of summer, and that sticky stuff could work its way loose and fall out. So just something to consider as you're going through it. I know in the original, these cars, they just put some fiberglass insulation up there and put the headliner in. Mark says, Alvico makes a lot of automotive clips and fasteners. So, Fairlane, I don't know if that's the actual spelling. I don't know. It's Auveco, Alvico, I'm guessing. So, thank you, Mark. Troy says, I'm surprised UPS did that. Usually it's FedEx destroying packages and parts. I agree 100%. I mean, almost everything else I don't think I've ever gotten a bad box from NPD, or I should say, yes, I've never gotten a bad damaged box that NPD sent. I probably have had damaged boxes from UPS, but not to the extent that last one was, where the end was blown out of it. So, yeah. Fairlane says Ford small blocks generally run at 8 degrees before top dead center initial. My experience is seeing them happier at 10. 12 might be a bit much, especially with a weak starter. There you go. Thank you. Hugh says, Dawn, I used Frost King on the entire inside of my car, including the roof and inside the doors. I sprayed Gorilla Glue spray adhesive for added stickiness. Plus, if you front to back, the roof bows. Oh, yeah. Okay. Oh, roof bows help hold it up. Okay. Randy Bayless, lighting my garage has always been an issue. What lighting did you settle on, and do you like it? You know, I will say this. I had 8-foot fluorescent, what are they, T2 or something? The post style fluorescent 8-foot bulbs. All of these were fluorescents. And I was okay with them. The problem was they would only last so long and they would die. And I had some company, actually I think 2 different companies, offer me LED lights for free if I do a video. I'm like, why not? So I ended up putting up LED lights in here, and they're okay. I changed out all the fluorescents to LEDs. I converted those 8-foot pieces that I had to the LED retainer. Putting in LED lights, got rid of the transformer thing, or whatever it is. And I'm on the fence as to if I would do it again. While the fluorescents were a pain because they failed infrequently and you'd have to climb up and swap them out, the LEDs, they do a good job, but they also kind of mislead you a little bit with color and how things look. And it seems like they've lost some of their brilliance over time, which all of them are going to do that. So I have quite a few up here, and that's all I really can say. I don't know if I would do LEDs again, but these are older models as well, so maybe newer stuff would be better. But that's about where I'm at on that. Now I had something else I wanted to talk about, and I lost it. Hold on a second. We were talking about packaging, clips. Oh, I had something important I wanted to talk about. And now I lost it. Okay. Oh, I know what it is. I'll get right to it. Dawn says to Hugh, yes, foam and foil will stay up. It's the limp mass vinyl products tend to melt and drip down in hot climates. Okay. Okay. TJ says, Barry, when are you going to make a run to Summit in McDonough, Georgia again, you think? I don't know. I haven't had much need to lately. It'd be kind of hard to say, hey, I'm headed that way. But you could shoot me an email or something if you wanted to. Might be able to hook up. I don't know. Here's what I wanted to talk about. Kevin has asked me to put up some pictures of his project. This is a project that he is selling. Okay. He has, I guess he implied that he had several. Let me go back to the email. He says, I am selling one of my projects. It's a 67 fastback with the Eleanor kit installed. All the bodywork is finished and gapped with all new sheet metal, all professionally done, high build primer ready for blocking. I have all new coilover suspension and a four-link setup in rear. All interior with fold-down rear seat. Lots of new parts. I wanted to check, see if you knew anybody who might be interested. Okay? So I'm going to post a couple of those pictures. So here is one shot. And I didn't ask him if he had a title. I don't know if, what the scenario is. And then here's the front end. And that does, I have to admit, that looks really nice. It does. And then here's the underside with the all new suspension and stuff underneath it. So let me back that comment off there for a second. Okay, so you can see what's going on there. Now, I know from my experience, and I'm sure many of you know, how much money you can tie up in stuff like this and how much labor you can put in stuff like this. And with all the stuff he has for this car, I think he's asking like somewhere around $50,000. Now, I do not know if it has an engine in it or not. I don't know. I'm going to download a couple more pictures so you all can see. But I can tell you all that stuff adds up really, really fast. So I'm going to pull up, I've got a couple more pictures I can add to it. Here is another shot of the rear suspension. Looks like he did a mini tub on it as well, I think. And then another shot of the interior pan. So he's really done a lot of work to this car. So if anybody out there is interested in this vehicle and getting in touch with Kevin, there is a ticker stream on the bottom there, joedaddy'sgarage@gmail.com. So send me an email and put 67 Eleanor, in the comments, and we'll see what we can get together. And I'll share what I can and hook you up if I can. But that does look like a really nice project. And he probably has a better list of everything going on with it. So, okay. That's where we're at. Gleed 102, how do you feel about 4-link versus leaf? That's a really difficult question for me to answer. I have not really done much with the 4-link. So I know I've messed with the TCI, but I've never driven one with that setup in it. And so I don't have any experience with it. Now, the thing is, you're going to take into consideration what you're doing with it. As in, are you just driving this to the grocery store? Are you going to cruise ins? Are you planning on putting this on some sort of track? All that stuff, to me, comes into play. Some people, they want to put it on there just because it's available. I don't blame them at all. But you have to consider maybe you have other potential what you're going to do with it. So just put that in perspective. For me, I'm happy with a leaf spring suspension, and I just drive the car. I'm not looking to go out and race or do anything with it. And I'm more of I'm not going to say purist, but I really do kind of like the original stuff, just because. I don't know. I know there's lots of improvements. I'll put disc brakes on and change out, stuff like that. And I'm not against putting in coilovers or upgrading the suspension. I'm not against that. I'm just not highly motivated to do it. I'm like, oh, this worked from 1965. It still works today. So that's kind of where I'm at with it. You have to kind of consider what you want to do with it. And are you doing it for cosmetic reasons or, ooh, look at that reasons? You know what I mean? I'm not against it. I can't tell you the one may be a better fit for what you're doing. Travis, hey all, hope you had a great weekend. Remember to hug your family each time you leave them. Exactly right. Can't stress that enough. That was part of the reason we wanted to get away this weekend. We had some friends who lost a granddaughter, and it was just tragic. But yeah, you just never know. You just never know when that time is up. So, good point, Travis. Richard, where did you purchase the foam tape that goes on Slither's drip rail? I actually got it off of Amazon. I have... where did I put it? Hold on a second. Oh, yeah. So, what I've used, and I used this in the past, I used it on Jade, and I've used it on Slither. This is 1 inch, 1 inch wide, I think, by 1/8 inch thick. And you can find this on Amazon, and it's got a yellow, I could probably put a link somewhere, but it's cheap. It's got yellow tape on it. The problem I ran into, the first time I ordered this, I could order one roll of this, and I went back to my old orders, and I tried to reorder it, and it wouldn't let me. Apparently they don't sell it in one roll anymore. You have to buy 2 rolls. So, I think one roll back then was like $7 or something. So 2 rolls is like $14. And the difference between this and the factory stuff that they put on those cars, this is only sticky on one side. So the factory cars, of course, they use double stick tape. And I guess the logic was that there's, water potential, rain, whatever. If you put double stick tape up, it'll be better than single stick tape. But I also think it was part of the assembly process, meaning they had that big stainless strip that had to go in, and they didn't want to fool around with trying to hold it and run a screw and maybe have the other piece loose and trying to run a screw. They're on the clock, right? They got to get this thing in and out. So my opinion on it is they probably use the double stick tape more for the assembly process. So you stab one end, press, come back with the screws and just run them and you're done. Okay? What I like about this is if I want to take this stuff back out, if there's some reason that I need to remove it, I can just pull the screws and take it out. So I like the single stick a lot better. Also with this particular car, because I don't know who's going to be putting the headliner in, they may want to take that strip back out. I don't know. I also, in this case, did not glue in the rubber piece that goes into that strip. Now this strip is better than the older cars. The channel on each end is a lot better for gripping the foam piece. So normally I'd put weather strip adhesive in there and stick it in place. I didn't do that either, because if you got to take that stainless out, you got to pull the strip out. And I didn't want to glue something that somebody else would have to pry out of there and maybe destroy it. So I'm just trying to be proactive in the process. But I would definitely just use the single stick, you know. And those of you or us who have used a double stick, you also know you're trying to put that in place, and let's say you didn't get it stuck in the right spot. Now you're fighting and you're trying to get it back loose and not bend that stainless. Because a lot of people, they would do that. They start pulling that strip out and they go, oh yeah, I can just pull. And then the stainless kinks in their hand and they realize, oh, they don't make this anymore. At least for the coupes. So anyway, that's what I used. Good question, Richard. Don says, that being said, after driving Betsy 300,000 miles, I just had to improve the handling this time around. I think it was worth it, but, and it's a big but, not all those suspension kits are designed right. That's a valid point. They're taking some modern technology, right? Let's say modern, and they're putting it in an old car, and they're having to use mount points and pickup points of that old car to incorporate that new design. Sometimes it doesn't work that great. Like Don says, sometimes, you know, there's variations out there. So I think with these cars, a simple upgrade is doing that coilover shock versus all the other extra stuff. You know, they make that tall kind of a coilover that takes the place of, I think it takes place of the upper control arm and eliminates the shock, you know, all that stuff. But just saying, there's something to be said for the old technology because it still works. But yeah, like Don was saying, there can be issues. So, well, thank you all. I got 2 super chats. Awesome. Appreciate you. That's beneficial. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Gerhard, good evening, everyone. Better late than never. Yes. You have to pay a tax for being late, though. Richard, thank you, Barry. That was extremely helpful. You're welcome. You're welcome. I mean, I like to give you tips and pointers if I can. You know, try to get people an easier way to do things sometimes. I don't know. Just trying to help. But I do appreciate you. So, I also had an email from Hugh, and he sent me a picture of his insulation of his roof of his car. So let me open that up so y'all can see what he has done. Whoops, there we go. Okay, here we go. Sorry, chasing my tail here. So there is the insulation that Hugh has put in his 67 coupe. Okay. That'll work. Thank you, Hugh. Gerhard, well, thank you, sir. That's awesome. I'll give you a star too. Where's it at? Wait a minute. Which one? Okay. Oh. I don't know. I don't know what I'm clicking on. There we go. Got it. He says there, taxes are paid. TJ Barry, can I borrow $40? You could. You could. I don't know where I'm going to get it from because YouTube takes their cut first. That's the price you pay for being putting videos on YouTube. Is they take their percentage first, and then I pay taxes on that later. It's a really fun system they have. So, yeah, Richard chuckling at that. Okay. So anyway, we were talking about this 67. Again, I'm gonna post the pictures again, and if you're interested, there's an email down at the bottom of the screen. Comes along this banner down here. So 67, very well built vehicle for sale. Somewhere around 50 grand, I think, is what he wants for it. And I can hook you up, get you more details, and see what happens. So, in case anybody gets here late, they can see that. Clem, after coming close to completing Slither, what are your plans for your own Mach 1? What level of restoration, a good driver, etc.? That's a great question. Now, what I'm going to do, at least at this point in time, is make it close to original. Okay? And I mean, it'll be, I won't say resto mod by any means, but I will make it close to original. So I have the original engine, the 351 Windsor, that I'm going to put back in. I do want to find a overdrive transmission for it, though. I don't want I think it came with an FMX. I don't want that. I'm going to put in an overdrive transmission. I may go ahead and put in air conditioning, upgrade to that. I know that the previous guy had started, or he has the components to do a disc brake conversion, because even though this is a Mach 1, it has drum brakes on it, which is odd. But I don't want drum brakes. So I'm going to put disc brakes on it. The original color I don't like. It's hideous. It's new lime is the color, and it looks a lot like this tape. Literally. And I'm not going to paint it that color. So it's going to end up probably lime gold. So it'll be it'll still be in the original colors for that car. It'll be more like this right here. And I'll have the Magnum 500 wheels on it. It did have the wing on it, so I'll put the wing back on it. I'll put the chin spoiler on it. And put everything else basically back to, factory look to it. Now, I do have some really nice suspension parts, and I don't know that I will use them on this car or not. I haven't decided yet. I don't need to. I could if I wanted to. But at this point, it's not that important to me. So that's a great question, Clem. Thank you for that. Dawn is saying to Hugh, Hugh, that's a better choice. Betsy got a full jute insulation, which has a chunky density headliner, do not lay smoothly at the sail panels. So we were talking about doing this insulation work on the car. So Dawn says, you should paint it Gulfstream blue. No. Although these cars do look really good Gulfstream aqua. They do. I've seen several, and that is a potential choice. Because I am a fan of green. However, I've also considered, if it's on here still, going back to that green, which is the color that I put on the Bronco that I painted. That's limestone green from like 1973, and that's what's on this Bronco. And I do like that green, and it's a little bit darker than the lime green. So my wife likes this color. She's happy with that. And I kind of like something a little more bold, just a little. But it's not that critical at this point. Randy says, I've been reading about flush mounted glass. Would you consider that on your car? Oh, that is a tough one. It depends. And I say that because the car to me, it almost needs to be a resto mod. It almost needs to be a custom build to merit having that kind of glass. Because it's tricky. Whenever you consider how these cars were designed and the look of it and the trim kind of helps define the car. So I'm not against the one-piece glass, but there's a lot of work involved because you really have to make sure that glass is going to fit and be indexed perfectly within that perimeter. But I have seen it done, and I'm not against it, but I would rather see it in a more of a custom car than a car that's leaning towards or being original looking, if that makes sense. That's kind of my viewpoint on it. I know that it can be a hassle getting that to look right, and even the ones that I've seen were not perfect. Like, they still had issues. It's not like the modern cars, where I don't think it is. At least the ones I've seen, modern cars have like a rubber flap that goes around and stuff like that. The ones I've seen in the Mustangs didn't have anything around the perimeter. It just had to be really close to the A-pillars and the roof. And man, if you don't get that just right, it'll never look right. That's the way I look at it. Mark, I recall the new lime discussion. We all agreed that it was hideous. Yeah, it's blue. I don't know if I still have that paint stick laying here with that sample on it. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me. They actually painted this yellow wood paper bag color. Ford Brittany blue. That's a nice color. That is a nice color. I do like that. And he says that's what my future Mustang will be. Okay. Brittany blue is a very nice color. Dawn says medium sage 66 color. I'm not sure what that looks like, Dawn. Probably don't have that. Is that this one? No. That's not that one. I don't know if I have that color in my inventory. But maybe. Maybe. Travis says, do you want some original 1970 disc brakes? I have some fronts available. I don't know. I'd have to think about that. I have a disc brake kit for the 69. So I already have all the pieces to put in maybe a more modernized disc brake setup. I don't know. But there's we may talk about that later. I don't know yet. I appreciate the offer. We'll have to talk it over. Dawn says flush mount glass require pillar molding. The ones that I've seen have not had it. I mean, the ones that I've seen, people had to either trim, set the glass in place, and some of it have even had to grind some on the glass to get the gap where they want it. And then I've seen other people where they've built up the edge of the A-pillar, made it with body filler, bring it in towards the glass. Like the ones I've seen have not had any trim around them at all. So that's all I have to go by. Fairly Central Barry, a company called Gear Vendors, makes overdrive units that bolt on many classic cars. Trans might be worth looking at if you like original and overdrive. That's not a bad idea. I think in my case, well, not that it's a big deal. I do have an FMX transmission, but it's out of like a 74 something, Torino or something like that. So it's not the original transmission to the car. Not that that matters, because I'm not worried about that. It's not going to be a numbers matching, blah, blah, blah. I have a friend who does transmissions, and he could probably hook me up with an AOD pretty easily. So I may just pursue him in that route. But I do know, I've heard about Gear Vendors, and that's a good option too. So I appreciate you. Thank you. Extra bell. Randy Bayless, a 68 Mustang Fastback pulled out in front of me the other day that was jet black. Now I'm instantly in love with black. Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, I could see that. I don't know that I would paint black. I don't know now. I don't know that I want to paint another one this color. I like the Gulfstream Aqua was a great color to paint, as far as I'm concerned. And the other cars that I painted, the blue Mustang in particular, Acapulco Blue, was pretty decent, easy to paint. This is an odd mix, and if you don't get it just right, it's not just right, and it's pretty stressful. So black, the nice part about black is you can panel paint black. I mean, I've never seen it where you couldn't. As long as you have the same brand, the same paint throughout the whole system, you could panel paint black, and it doesn't matter. You can't do that with white, though. Some people think, hey, white is white. No, white is not. White is many, many, many different shades. But a true black is that. That's it. You don't change that. Can't do anything else with it. Dawn says, I vote AOD for non-stock auto trans. Well, thank you, Dawn. And that's probably what I'll do. Just something out of a, I don't know, old truck or something. It doesn't really matter. I may end up having to change, well, I don't know yet. I'm not sure what the gear ratio is in the car at this point. But I'll weigh that into what happens later. And Dawn says, I had a black 85 GT Stang. Boy, that was a lot of work to keep nice in rainy Oregon. I'll bet. Like this car here, dust just finds it. I mean, it just shows up really quick. You just can't get away from it. So. And Mark says black is a lot of work. It is. It is. And black has to be almost like completely flawless. Like no dust nibs, nothing. I mean, I can appreciate a car. I know one guy who has a 70, I think a 70 Nova. And it is probably the best paint job that I've honestly ever seen. And it is black. And it looks like, I mean, it looks perfect. There's no dust nibs, there's no sags, there's nothing. And it was all just sanded, buffed. It looked like you could just reach your hand into the car, that it was such a beautiful paint job. I'm not that person. I don't feel, at least with my facilities, I'm not capable of pulling that off. So I'm not even going to try that. But they did. And it's an absolutely stunning car. So. All right. I'm trying to think if there's much, I don't have much else to talk about other than I'm going to take the front fenders back off of the Cobra Jet. I'm going to take them back off. All I wanted to do was set the fenders on so I could verify the placement of the hood and the hood hinges and the cowl. So now that I have that configured, I'm going to take the hood back off because I have to black it out, right? And that's what all this stuff is on top here, all this striping template material. So the hood has to come off. I'm going to take the fenders off just to be careful, so they're out of the way, and then the hood will go back into the paint booth, and I'll do some prep work, obviously to get it ready to go, and then I'll set the decals on. Now I have to probably do a little more research on these decals, and the reason for that is I was looking at the instructions. What I don't like about these, and I get it, you can't make it all in one piece, I guess. You have a left and right of these, and you also have a centerpiece. So what you have to do is line these up, right? So you have to line that up, line this one up with the long piece that runs here, right? And none of that sounds very appealing. And in the instructions it says specifically to not use a soapy solution to stick this down. I guess they're concerned that you won't be able to pull it up, like it would adhere better with a soapy solution. So this is also the 1/8 inch width on the outer stripe. So I'm going to have to play around with this. I'm assume, right, that I put each side on, get those set, and then interact the rest of the pieces from these. But I'm really, it's one of those things where it's like, if I don't get this right, I'm starting over. And I don't want to do that. But it has to happen. But anyway, that's where I'm at with the stuff I'm doing this week. As I said before, I have to respray the mirrors. I had a problem with those, so I'm going to get those taken care of. I also bought hardware and nuts and bolts and stuff to put the front valance and all that on. That'll come after I get the fenders back in place for the last time, and then of course getting the rest of the stripes on the side of the car. I do need to redo or rebuild the vent windows. Now that I have these little pieces, I can take care of those. And if y'all saw, I did a video. I redid a video that I did from like 10 years ago where I built my 68 GMC truck, and that has actually gotten a lot of views. People, because I did a lot of short little videos on that truck, so I decided to put them all together. I made part 1, which is like 5 of those videos now, all overlapped, and then I'm going to do a part 2 and put that out there because people seem to like that. They want to see that longer type of video stuff. So, let me see here. Dawn says decals are nerve-wracking. Yes, they are. TJ says, Barry, what's your supper? I made chicken and dumplings. They show we're good. Go eat. Good night all. Yeah, that sounds good, but I'm going to have barbecue. My wife made some barbecue. Can enjoy that. Richard, really awesome show tonight. Thanks. You're welcome. Okay. So, and Don says he's having pokey tonight. I think I know what that is. I think. But I don't know for sure. All right. So, I'll be back next Monday at 7. We'll do this again. Hopefully I've got more done. Like, the plan is to get more done on this car, get it closer to rolling down the road, and get started on the next one. So that'll be it for tonight. I want to thank you all for being here. And until next time, take care of yourselves. See ya.